Hello and welcome to Show Up, Stand Out Online Visibility Expert Series for entrepreneurs. Today I have a very special guest, and I'm so delighted because this is the second time we're trying to do something, and I know first time didn't work out, but this one will be awesome. And can I introduce you to Julia Andrews? Julia is a sales coach and a sales team strategy consultant. She is also creator of Connect to Close, a sales method that draws on natural human connection, authenticity, and abundance mindset. I love it. And you know what? What is the best day to talk about it all than the 4th of the 4th, where the day when you step into your greater power and you start moving. This is all about doing, and I think this is such a timely conversation. So I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you're watching on a replay or if you're watching live, where you're watching from, and make sure you ask some questions while we're talking. Hi, Julia.
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you for the kind introduction. I really liked it.
I am delighted to have you. When we start with you telling a little bit about your background and how did you come to creating your method, and where's all this obsession with sales coming from?
You know, I'm going to take you back to 1996. I was 17 years old, and I'm going to give you basically what they say in the U.S. as the cliff notes of kind of like how I got here. And sales was not sales for me back then. Sales was just a job to help me survive. I come from a family of 5, and my parents divorced, and we moved from a different country. We moved from Mexico to the U.S., and we didn't have a lot of money to go around. That's the reality. So having 3 younger siblings, my oldest sister and myself had to, team up with my mom to help her buy groceries, pay the bills, and I decided, I was looking through the classifieds, and I'm really dating myself right now, but I was realizing that the easiest way, to make money or fast money was really sales jobs. So I had never had a sales job in my life. I didn't know what it was. And I went out and I started knocking on doors, selling cutlery. I did that for probably a couple of years. I became really good at it, as you can see, and I was making in 1 or 2 sales what people make in a month.
Tell me while you're on it, just looking back, what was your best and worst experience? Not experience, but the best thing and the worst thing about that particular job you had.
So the worst thing, I'm going to tell you what the worst thing was the fact that I had to go into people's homes. I had seconds to make a first impression. I did not know, I was battling not only with the script, because I had to read the script in front of people. I had not memorized it. It was a second language to me, so that's another added obstacle. And sometimes people were not very nice to me, and they would slam the doors in my face. So the worst, looking back at it, is people saying no to me. I think that was really the worst thing, and getting over the objection, kind of like that bite. The best thing was, looking back, is that it really showed me the power of persuasion, the power of utilizing a product and not speaking into a product, but speaking into what the product can do for your life. I was selling knives, which is kind of ridiculous, right? But it was just, I would talk about what this would do for their family life, how they would cook together. It was so different. And the best thing about that was walking out of a house, having to, sold a set with a job offer to work at a huge financial company.
Brilliant.
So, and that changed the entire trajectory of my life in terms of my sales career. But I think they were all real lessons. To just keep going despite, having 20 no's in a row. But then the 21st yes, when you get the 21st answer and it was a yes, you made up for the entire month, because these sets we couldn't afford them, but they were like about $2,500 and $2,800. And you would get 50% of the commission. So my poor mother was, working 2 full-time jobs, And I was making more and selling one set or two sets than she was bringing home in a month. So working full time.
We have more in common than we think. We both come from not a very privileged background. We both speak a second language on an everyday basis. This is gas. I was also working. Well, I was actually in a band singing, and I was making in one night more than, the whole salary I had teaching English in school for the month.
Yeah.
For the month. It was only, I remember it was only enough to buy a very average pair of shoes. I had to work a month in school for it. So, but this is so interesting because yes, these experiences, especially, and I asked you particularly about this door-to-door job because from that, what we're doing online, our online sales is just so similar, and you can do it the right way, you could do it the wrong way. And obviously you nailed that authentic right way because you landed yourself a job offer. And I know that if somebody walked into my door, and I don't like people knocking at my door, I'm not friendly, like, what do you need? And I know there was a person there that I got a copywriting gig because they were selling something, but when we started talking, there was a completely different person behind this whole thing that I didn't need. And, it's all based on connection, isn't it? And that's why I'm excited to talk to you about it. Okay, well, let's forward further and tell me more about your life.
So fast forward, I went through, kind of financial jobs, worked in Merrill Lynch, worked in banking, worked in financial services, and then I landed my last job, which was insurance. But we worked specifically in a very small niche. It wasn't like insurance that people would buy on the fly. It was more of a wholesaling. You would get our insurance through financial advisors. So people had already they needed a certain amount of what'd you say, cash, money put aside, wealth to be able to use this. And when I was there, I really learned, I feel like I got like my master's and my PhD in selling, because I went from the methodology of cold to sold, right? Because you're hustling, to pre-sold, to a more elegant sale, a more sophisticated sale, because you're dealing with people that money is not the object, it's not the objection. So it was really looking at it from a perspective of how can we be the best? How can we be the authority in our field? How can we bring the best product in alignment with the ideal client? So it was a very different approach. It was approach of connection. It was approach of alignment. It was an approach that helped me and really taught me the power of follow-up in an elegant way, in a way that it's not pushy or sleazy, or it wouldn't have gone very well for me. And during that almost 7 years that I was there, my partners and I sold about 200 million in that span, doing this way of selling, which is very partnership driven. It's very relationship driven. So how I got to connect to close was really looking at a sales conversation, looking at what I had used in the past to contribute to my sales conversation, and take from that, how do we connect with people? The first thing that I identify is that I'm not everything to everybody. So I'm not trying to be that. And you're trying to connect with the people that want what you have to offer. So having that understanding first and foremost, that you're not selling trinkets, that you're actually selling something that can impact the lives of a lot of people, you start to disconnect from the sale in a way that you're not attached to the result. You're attached to the person saying yes to themselves if this is a match. So a lot of people may disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine, because my clients will not be attracted to them. It's going to be a very different feel. So I'm very true to that, and I believe that sometimes people need to be led, but people are not dumb or stupid. They know what they want and who they want to do business with. So being authentic and being more of yourself in the process of a sales conversation will help you weed out the people that are not for you, and will bring in the people that resonate with your message and that want to do business with you.
That's right. I think that the most of one of the biggest objection to doing things this way that you described is people are afraid to exclude somebody. Or what if I just only talk to one type of people? And then what about, well, I work with women, but what about men? I don't want to exclude men. Listen, if that man fits into your ideal client avatar, even if he is not a woman, you're going to end up working with them, because, we all have masculine and feminine part. It doesn't matter, you might be talking to females who are very masculine. You don't know sometimes you don't know exactly what you're doing until you get clarity on this, right? But this is the biggest thing at the very end for me that people don't identify. They're afraid to repel. And I've learned that the more you repel, the better you're off. The more you repel wrong people from your life, and you just don't say yes just for the sake of it or because you feel you need to people please, the better you feel. And when you feel great, you can do better for the people you serve.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was talking to the fact that the easiest way to talk about what you just said is, well, why don't you think about, if you want to have a good time, serving the clients that you love and serving the people that want to do business with you, why would you take on a client that's going to be a pain in the ass? We've all had them. I've had them before. And I think that you start resenting what you do, because you now, instead of saying, I get to serve this client, I get to help this client, I have to comes out of your mouth. I have to help this client. I'm contractually obligated to help this client. And I'm a little bit of a rebel. And when it comes to that, I really believe that alignment and energy, and that may sound very woo-woo, but it doesn't matter. I feel that I want to love my job and I want to love what I'm doing. And I don't want to feel like I'm forcing people to do things they don't want to do. And I think it takes away from the enjoyment of what you do when you have people that are either energy suckers or energy vampires, or people that are just constantly trying to be contrarian to what you're trying to teach them.
Absolutely. So, and you know what? Sometimes it just happens that you might become an energy sucker for somebody else just because you're not in alignment and you have expectations, you have demands, and that person is just not your match. There's no synergy. I love the synergy when it happens. Mm-hmm. It's the magic that happens when you're with the right people and you have right expectations, or at least you can communicate what they can expect or what do you expect. But with the wrong people, that's exactly what happens, and it takes your headspace away. I think that female entrepreneurs are really affected by that, because male don't really often worry about these things as much as we do, but for us, and maybe for us it's more difficult than to sell, because we're taking things too personally. And I believe that you have to put your personality into your business, but you need to take your personality out, and the personality, I mean the chatter in your head, out of the business, out of the equation, away, because that's the saboteur, and just serve from your heart. That's what I believe. But it's true. Do you agree with me that it's female entrepreneurs and the relationships that they have with their business, with their sales, are affected usually by these negative end of things?
Oh yeah, I mean, yes. One of the things, so two things. So the first thing is, one of the things that I get a lot from female entrepreneurs is they're like, oh, I don't feel very confident. Oh, who am I to sell? Oh, they have all these like negative chatter, doubtful conversations in their mind. And they could be normal to a certain extent. One of the things that I tell them is, I try to get them to think about the benefits of what the clients will get by working with them. So get out of your head, right? Start thinking about what is it that you do that you help people? You can either be a love coach, you can either be a business strategist, you can be, it doesn't matter what you do, but people out there are waiting for you to help them. So if you're staying confused in your head, you're not able to serve people. And another way that I look at it is like, who would be the best ambassador for your company? And they typically say, well, I would, because I know exactly. I say, exactly. So think about yourself as being an ambassador for what you stand for. You're an ambassador for what you believe in, what you do, and you try to separate yourself from the entity, and because you're still trying to manage what I call the inner game of sales, right? It's all mindset. And you have to be diligent with yourself about that. And you see a lot of that in female entrepreneurs where they're not very either confident or think that they don't have a voice, or they have to change their voice to get their sales across. And that is just not true. I'm here to tell you that if you have a product that serves people, that benefits people, that solves a problem, let's talk. Because you don't have to be anybody else. You could be yourself, but let's talk about benefits and what that does to people. Let's bring your personality in and tell me, why do you do what you do? Tell me a story. So I've been doing this for like 22 years, so it's very easy for me, as you can see. But I think it has a lot to do with their mindset and how to shift how to shift negative mindset, and how to identify the triggers that get you in those kind of ruts, basically.
I agree. And actually, an interesting thing that I'm not doing what you were doing particularly for 22 years, right? But the moment I got clarity on this whole thing, and the moment that I've really clearly saw how being authentic, not just saying this, it's an overused word in the current marketing, but there is, when you actually think about it, this is exactly what creates this magic. This is exactly what creates this connection in business and everything. And yes, as you said, you have to learn about the triggers that put you into the negative mode, or go and release the blogs. I've done a lot of sessions recently just to release some of the earlier blogs, maybe on an energy level. And yes, I'm a woo-woo girl, so take it or leave it. But sometimes maybe some things we're not aware of, and they just need to be cleared for us to succeed. And maybe sometimes we just need to take control over our lives and just say, what, I'm going to take myself seriously from now on.
Yeah,
that's as well is another thing. I love how you call it the game of sales, inner game of sales.
It's the inner game of sales, because there's a lot of it's really mindset, and mindset can come from our buying beliefs from our parents, from when we were so young. Be careful with the salesperson because they're going to try to, trick you with that. Or, money doesn't grow on trees. Or, there's so many beliefs that they're just embedded in our heads. And one of the things you want to look at is either, cleansing, those blocks, or recognizing, are these beliefs serving me? Or are they limiting myself? Am I limiting myself? Because when you bring that mentality into your sales conversation, let's take scarcity for an example. The person has not even bought, and you have already determined that the person's buying power is not going to be where you want it. So you're already defeatist, and you're bringing in this defeatist energy, or you're bringing in an energy of scarcity, or you have to really check yourself when you're talking to a potential client, because you can read energy.
Yes.
You can hear how this person is, the words, how they're having a conversation. Is it positive? Is it uplifting? Or is it like negative and like, oh God, I don't know if I want to work with this person. Like, they're a coach, but they're not really, inspiring me or anything like that. So I think that a lot of times I see people with great scripts or with great mentors, and they're still blocked. They're still not moving forward. And it has more to do with their beliefs and their willingness to maybe shift those beliefs from lack to abundance, from scarcity to there's abundance for everybody. Like, there's enough. We're almost 8 billion people in the world, right? It's like 7.5. There's a lot to go around for everybody. So
that's true. The interesting thing here, I just want to add to what you said, because I'm a big growth hacker, personal growth hacker. I love learning about my personality. I love personality tests. I just love to learn because I want to know the way that will work for me. And I am very results driven, even not like a corporate results driven, but I actually my drive is seeing a transformation. My drive is when something happens and I saw the result and this aha moment. That's what I live for. And so sometimes some other people have a different way where they have this clarity and where they have this kind of like an aha moment, they get things. So I think that, you know, if you're to recognize, what I'm trying to say is that to recognize those blocks that you have, sometimes you need to know as well how your brain works, how sort of personality you have, and then based on that you can see how you are maybe yourself, what drives you or what blocks you, and address these things, and it becomes it easier. Just a tip.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I do a ton of a ton of personality testing, and a lot of people are very either more of a controlling personality. A lot of people are more of a, you know, supporting personality. A lot of people, I think there's two more others, like analyzing personality. They need all the details, right? And some other people are more promoting, more like, you know, kind of like forget the details, let's have fun and stuff like that. And understanding how you learn, I think it's very important. It's a huge piece of that puzzle. So for sure, I totally agree with you on that, Juliet.
This is something that I've learned about myself. And did you just say the details? And you know what? I can be so good with details when it comes to, you know, let's say serving others. For me, forget the details. Yeah. Let's go. But I can lead. I can take them. You know, it's an interesting thing. And when you learn about your personality, you get so much more confident. It's a huge boost because you say, you know what? Yes, I am like this. I can do this. And you start embracing things that you maybe before you think, oh, am I too pushy or am I too this? No, you're not. You're good, you know, so this is brilliant. So, okay, well, Julie, if somebody, what you said, it was fantastic. You know, there's so much advice here as well, how to, you know, look into yourself. And you are someone who works with coaches and consultants and people who are selling, particularly. So where can they follow you? How can they get to know you better?
Oh, yes, of course. Depending on what you like, you know, I'm on Instagram. I love Instagram. So you can follow me there at juliaandrews.com, but it's COMM. So it's 2 M's because the other one was already taken. You can follow me on Facebook. I love Facebook. So I have either my business page, Connect to Close, with Julia Andrews. You'll see my picture there, so it's me. Love to connect. Or you can shoot me an email if you have any specific questions you would like, you know, or on Messenger. My direct email is julia@juliaandrews.com. So you can, you know, just hit me up that way. So I'm all over, guys. So you can find me.
This woman doesn't need any visibility strategist. Yeah. She is visibility, walking visibility herself. I love Julia. I hope you enjoyed, guys, watching this conversation, because like this is a person there with this huge light, you know, like a light carrier, torch carrier. I see myself like this as well. And I'm so happy to connect. And this is why I love internet. And I always say that, because you get the people with this similar light and you get to connect, you get that synergy going on. So I hope you enjoyed this show, guys. Julia, thank you so much for joining me. It was
so
such
lovely.
A pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you again for inviting me, and anytime, you know, I'll gladly be on.
Perfect. Guys, if you have any questions for Julia, definitely you can even comment on this video and we will get back to you. And I will see you in the next episode. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
Bye.